Yo, what's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte. So today we're taking a look at the New York Rangers as we continue our season preview videos. And the Rangers, they had a good season last year, right? They finished in the Eastern Conference Finals, won the President's Trophy. They had a good season. But that's not the expectation. Until they lift the Stanley Cup for the first time since 1994, this isn't good enough. The Rangers want to get back to their winning ways, bringing the cup down, Broadway, down, through New York City in Manhattan. Until they get there, this isn't enough. So, unfortunately, they don't do those types of celebrations for winning the President's Trophy. So, for the New York Rangers, not really a lot of change to this team. It was more so just retaining guys. They were able to do that with guys like Ryan Lindgren, Keandre Miller, for better or for worse, Jacob Trouba. And also, they were able to add two players to this team. So they add in Sam Carrick, who comes in. He's a guy that's been bouncing around the AHL a little bit. He was with Anaheim most recently. Riley Smith comes in from Pittsburgh. Things did not go well for him in Pittsburgh last year. So I think what better spot than going to play alongside Kreider and Zibanejad. This is it for Riley Smith. He wants to rebrand and rebuild his career. You should come to the Big Apple, and he's going to try and do that. So that's the top line, just to kind of give a spoiler. Panarin, Trocheck, Lafreniere is your second line. I expect them to build off of last season, one of the best second lines in the National Hockey League. I would probably say the best, honestly. I'm ready to go out on a limb and say that. I think, Florida had the best first line in the NHL last year. Debatable who that is this year, but second line, a lot of depth in the top six for the Rangers. Will Cully, Philip Hedl, Capo Caco, Matt Rempe, Sam Carrick, the new addition, and Jimmy Vesey fill out the bottom six. A lot of questions about whether Brendan Ottman could jump into this lineup at some point. There really isn't a spot for him, but if things happen between now and the end of the season, whether it's maybe trading out a guy like Caco or Hedl, maybe we see a spot for Brendan Ottman there, or Brendan Ottman's the guy that ends up going the other way. Defense, you got Lindgren and Fox as your top pair. That's going to continue. Love that pair, at least for one more season. We'll see what they do next year with Lindgren. Keandre Miller and Jacob Trouba. I know people are not fans of Trouba right now, but I think enough time has gone on since the summer where maybe they won't boo him. Maybe. Zach Jones and Braden Schneider is your third pair. I like that. They've let go of a lot of they've kind of filtered out some of the guys that they didn't really want. Ty Emberson's no longer there. Nick Robertson, or is it Matt Robertson? I think it's Matt Robertson, also no longer there. So the Rangers had a lot of good defensemen that could be NHL players in the NHL as defensemen, but couldn't make the Rangers lineup. They played in Hartford last year. A lot of those guys have moved on, and now they kind of have the cream of the crop of what they wanted in Zach Jones and Braden Schneider. Goaltending is going to stay the same. Jonathan Quick and Igor Shesterkin had really good seasons last year. Really made the Rangers goaltending look pretty good. I'm a fan of what they have. I mean, this power play, penalty kill, kind of everything fired on all cylinders last season. I think what's frustrating for Rangers fans is, and we're kind of talking about last season again, is they had a lot of things going their way last year. Like, they legitimately looked like, oh shit, this team's gonna win the cup, and then they ran into the Panthers, and I think, and I apologize if my nose is a little nasally. I haven't been feeling that good, and this is already my fourth video today. So anyway, can they run it back? Like, they had so many things going their way in the playoffs last year. Like, how do you really, get better? And I think for a lot of Rangers fans, I think they kind of felt that way at the end of last season too, right? Like, especially against the Capitals, they had their way on special teams. And even in the Carolina series, I think that was a major difference in that series. And then against Florida, they just couldn't score. And we've seen that before, where Panarin and Zibanejad kind of get quiet in the middle of the playoffs, and it's like, wake up, come on, let's go. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of torn with the Rangers. Like, I think they're going to have another really good season. Probably not winning the President's Trophy, and I think that's a good thing, honestly, if they don't, because that's just so much added pressure for them. I think the Rangers are still going to make the playoffs. I'm not concerned about that. I think it's going to be a lot closer than it was last year, maybe like up until the last week of the season. But I still have them pretty much having everything that they want. It's just a matter of, I talk about this with a lot of teams. Like, I kind of talked about it with the Devils. We talk about it with Carolina, like all these teams in the Metro in particular. Like, yeah, like you make the playoffs, but how far do you go? And I think it's not a question of how far it's not a question of if the Rangers get in. It's a matter of how far. And we've talked about this with a lot of teams before. I mean, you look at the Oilers as a good example, right? They were always a team that could never make the playoffs. And then they did. And not only are they a team now making the playoffs, that was the most recent criticism is, yeah, they get to the playoffs and get bounced in the first or second round until they get to the Cup final in 2024, and they're a win away from the Stanley Cup. So it's always this story of the team that can't. The Rangers can't win in the playoffs. They choke in the first, second, third round. But that isn't an indicator of what they can do this season. This is a new season. Things can go right. Things can go wrong. And at the end of the day, it's going to take lucky bounces and things like that. But really, we're not going to know what the Rangers are, again, until Panarin and Kreider and Zibanejad, they show up in the playoffs. That's what has to happen. How did the Rangers win that series a couple years against Pittsburgh? Panarin getting the overtime winner. How did they do it this year? I think against Carolina, same thing. You need your guys to step up. The big guys need to step up in those big games. And we know, like we saw an emergence of Lafreniere last season. He's probably going to be close to a point per game player this year, probably. Vincent Trocheck turned it on to a new level since wearing the blue jersey with the Rangers. So there's just so many things that have gone right for the Rangers, and you're kind of left wondering, like, why aren't they, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, only one team wins the Stanley Cup, right? And I could sit here and show you the roster, and I could tell you all the things they did last season. They had things going their way. But, it has to be more consistent. And the goal scoring did dry up, and that's ultimately what did them in that series against Florida. I think they have an incredible goalie in Shesterkin. I'm not worried about that. Even Jonathan Quick, he was incredible, especially when Shesterkin struggled early in the season. He was a huge factor in the Rangers' success early on. I think they're gonna have to run it back, and that's easier said than done. But I think the Rangers can do it. So I have the Rangers finishing with 103 points next season, third in the Metro. So they wouldn't get home ice advantage, but it's gonna be right there between them, Carolina, and the Devils. Just a matter of which combination of teams you think's gonna probably have more winning streaks than the other one. That's really what it comes down to. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of the Rangers? Are they good? Are they not good? I think some teams are going to fall off in the Metro this year. Teams like Washington, Philly, Columbus, Pittsburgh, maybe even the Islanders. And that could be a good thing for the Rangers. Maybe they're able to stack up closer to 110 points, depending on how things go. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.